Wow, g'day. Happy to speak to you on this 26th of June 2026. Happens to be Friday. My name is George, and I'd like to bring to you an episode of Message of Hope. Today, I was at a community conference called Gather for Good 2026. The speaker was saying there was over 180 people involved during the morning, throughout the day pretty much. Non-profit workers, charities, volunteers, community builders, you name it, all in one big room with one shared purpose. So there were fundraising strategies, definitely collaboration frameworks, and talk about how to sustain organizations that serve the people everyone else has stopped noticing. For most part of the day, I really wasn't there as an attendee because West Side Radio has asked me to come and interview people on their behalf. So I barely sat down and listened to the speakers. But that's okay. We just moved from conversation to conversation, trying to capture something honest from the people doing the work. I had a blast. So thank you, West Side Radio. And there's something genuinely moving about a room full of people who showed up to serve. That's the difference, not to serve, not to be served, but to serve. And tomorrow morning, I'm doing something different as well. Something that's a bit quieter and honestly, something you can say is harder because I'll be joining my church friends for our monthly gospel tract delivery. Tomorrow we're going to a different street, but we're going for those letterboxes on the street. And almost certainly the same silence on the other side as well. Now, I have to be honest with you here. The tract delivery, it's really the easy version of the gospel work because you push your gospel tract through a slot in a mailbox and you walk to the next house. Chances are nobody sees you and therefore nobody reacts. The silence is uncomfortable. I would genuinely rather knock on the door and get a real response than wonder if anyone has ever read the gospel tract. But at least nobody's in your face about it, right? Street evangelism is different though. Now I do that too, not as often as in the past. With other church members, I do it out, and I do that out in the open, approaching strangers. Yeah, you can imagine, I've been sworn at, mocked as well, and dismissed with a look that makes the swearing seem almost polite. That's part and parcel of it. So I've had that more than once. Not just me, but other people who are preaching and handing out gospel tract. They face the same regular situation too. Regularly enough that no single occasion stands out anymore. It's just part of the work that we get involved. Because we're Christians, we have an urgent message to people to come and go back to God. And I accept those responsibilities. I pray for those people who might have cursed me, rejected the gospel, and that's fine. I genuinely do. But I want to be straight with you. It actually costs something for every time. It doesn't get any easier in the way you might hope it would. No, but just something I accept. It's got to be done. What I do think about is this question. Why go at all? So here's what Paul writes in Romans chapter 10, verse 14 and 15. He's writing here with a particular weight for his own people. Okay? Israel, that is. But what he lands on reaches far beyond that particular moment. Is what he says. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless they are sent? Good questions, Paul. How are they to hear without someone going? And that's the whole argument in those 4 questions. Because belief requires hearing. And hearing requires someone speaking. Makes sense. Speaking requires someone willing to move. Yes, even into the silence and even into the rejection. Yes, even into a reaction that stings on a Saturday morning on a footpath. which I'll expect to happen tomorrow. The chain only works if someone goes. Now, if you're finding this useful, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to the channel because there's a message every day and it costs you nothing to stay connected. Don't forget to like the video and share it. Now, something happened today that was unexpected. In the middle of all the interviewing, a young woman stopped me. She'd been listening to my podcast, I think, on Westside Radio and wanted to say so. She's studying at AI at the university, RMIT, and we had a brief conversation. Both of us landing in the same place, really. The AI is a useful tool when handled wisely. I totally agree. What I remember about that moment isn't the topic, is that she stopped at all. She wasn't looking for a transaction, she was looking for a connection, you see, around a shared idea with someone she'd been listening to from a distance. That's all it was. She heard something and it pulled her toward a conversation she hadn't planned, perhaps. And that is exactly what the gospel work is. Standing on a footpath, offering something to a stranger who didn't ask for it. Yeah, pushing a piece of paper through the letterbox towards someone you'll never meet, perhaps. Or hoping that what you're carrying pulls someone towards a conversation they hadn't planned on having with God and about God. Some people walk past, some people swear. You pray for them anyway, right? What's the big deal? And you go back again next month. Today's conference was for people building better communities. Now that work is genuinely good and worth supporting. 180 plus people, I believe, trying to make things more sustainable for the most vulnerable Australians. And not so vulnerable. Now that deserves to be celebrated. But a better community is not the same thing as an eternal one, you see. That's the important thing. The organisations that room today, they can feed people, house people, counsel people, educate people, build communities with them, advocate for people. Yes, they're all great things. But what no community program can do, what no fundraising strategy or even collaboration framework can touch, is deal with the question underneath all the others. It's the question of where we stand before God. And that's what those gospel tract carries. That's what the footpath is for us to go out and do our job. And I'll say this, the minister's mobile phone number is printed on the tract. So if anyone wants to express their feeling about receiving it, technically he's the one fielding all those calls. A lot of them are quite rude, mind you, those calls. So I'm not the one listening to those messages. Friends, is there a street near you that hasn't heard the gospel because nobody has been willing to be uncomfortable on it yet? Not because it feels rewarding or because anyone will thank you, but mainly because how are they going to hear without someone going? Tomorrow morning, it'll be a quiet street, the church friends beside me, we're all in different groups, and a piece of paper through a letterbox. And somewhere in the city, the footpath, there'll be a stranger and a reaction that stings, perhaps. Perhaps we just got to accept it and pray over it. My friends, and that's today's message of hope. Thanks for listening. I shall see you again tomorrow. You take care of yourself. Bye-bye.